$370 million. So, which would have Ghana secured a critical staff level agreement with the IMF guaranteeing the release of 350 million fifth tranche under the country's 3 billion bailout program. And the agreement, reached after 2 weeks of intensive talks with IMF officials, marks a pivotal step in Ghana's ongoing efforts to stabilize its economy and accelerate reform. And is the first one under the NDC government. Also, on the front page, Gold Board revokes gold dealers' license. And I'm sure many of you are aware of the story, because story that broke, I think, on Monday, talks about the fact that per the act that has been passed, now the Gold Board Act 1140, all licenses issued by the Precious Minerals Marketing Company or the sector minister to small-scale mining companies to deal in gold in the country have been revoked. Now, the new act makes the Ghana Gold Board the sole buyer, seller, and assayer and exporter of all gold produced by a licensed artisanal and small-scale mining sector. However, we're told that all affected individuals and fully owned Ghanaian companies that still wish to deal in gold in the country can apply for a license under the Gold Board Act from Tuesday, April 22, 2025, in a bid to also honor the contractual obligations between licensed gold buyers and their off-takers. Persons or companies holding the appropriate license issued by the PMMC or the Minister of Mines have until April 30, 2025 to purchase gold and export same. Also, foreigners have been given until April 30 to exit the local trading market. So that's a bit of news this morning. E-Waste Fund accrues over 60 million. We're told that the E-Waste Fund, set by the government to receive the Advanced Recycling Levies, Eco Levy on imported electrical and electronic items, is accrued over 60 million. Now, the fund is being disbursed to help in the management of electrical and electronic waste as mandated by the EPA Act 2025, Act 1124. And the acting fund manager, Anthony Kwete Mensah, who discloses a Daily Graphic at a stakeholder engagement with operators in e-waste value chain in Accra yesterday, said 20% of the total amount meant to support the collection of e-waste was being utilized to ensure the sound management of e-waste. Also on the front page, Dr. Nyama gets AIES top role. Africa Standards Organization Commonwealth deliberate on the African Continental Free Trade Area. Back page says, don't take unapproved medications, expert advises the public. So the president of the C4C Homeopathic Pharmaceuticals, Michael Tremanting, has advised the public to be mindful of patronizing medicines not approved by the Food and Drugs Authority, saying such drugs could have adverse effects on an individual's health. Also on the back page, NYA holds stakeholder engagement and apprenticeship program. So the Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayariga, has encouraged the youth to participate in the free national apprenticeship program to benefit from artisanal training for a productive future.
All right. Let's do the news center and lead stories on IMF Ghana Rich staff level deal for $370 million. A viral video lady compromised her phone security and not a system breach, according to MTN. If you've been following developments on social media and even last night on PM Express, the Minister for Communications is now saying that they're actually trying to engage all these money issuers and the mobile money companies, and possibly if it's established that they have compromised when it comes to safeguarding their clients and subscribers from these fraudulent activities, the government could be taking some tough measures against them, including license withdrawal and all those things. I mean, interesting development. The minority donates 400,000 Ghana cedis to 5 victims at Kantamanto and Edu markets. 752 killed in 3 months as 23.5% rise in injuries, crashes, vehicle involved in pedestrian knockdown in record increment. And you know, we were talking about the food bridge today. IMF exposes government fiscal data manipulation, so says the NPPN. Listen, if you've been following this IMF issue, it's very interesting when you listen to the minority side and some concerns that they've raised, that based on this staff level statement, it's shown that the numbers that the finance minister put out earlier wasn't accurate and all that. But let me just go through a quick bit from the statement. It says that notwithstanding the higher than expected growth and further significant improvement in Ghana's external position for last year, program performance deteriorated marked at the end of 2024. Fiscal slippages in the run-up to the elections led to a large accumulated of payables. Inflation exceeded program targets and several reforms. Now, since the beginning of the year, the new authorities have taken bold measures to address policy reforms, slippages, and ensure achievement of the program objectives. And that include enacting a major budget and public financial management reforms, tightening monetary policy, and adjusting electricity prices. So you listen to the minority, and they are arguing that the assessment was based on end of December 2024. So the argument that if government has passed this review or they've reached a staff level agreement, then that is based on the corrective measures they took. If you also go through this statement, and government is making the argument that, well, the program got off track, they also have to quickly introduce some measures to get things back. And so it's a very interesting development looking at where you stand. But again, you look at the minority and some argument that they've made in their statement, quite genuine concerns. We also listen to what government is saying. Maybe the fund still has to come clear on some of these things in terms of the issue about arrears and whether the program was really off track and it took just 3 months for those corrective actions to be taken.
So you're suggesting that as a people we are actually fighting between the NPP and NDC on who better fulfilled conditionality under an IMF program.
And I think if you listen to the minority, the argument was that government's posture was that they have messed things up, and all the rest. But from the verdict of the IMF, things were not that bad as this administration want everyone to appreciate.
Well, to be fair to the NPP, by the time they were leaving office, the situation wasn't as bad as it was when they went to the IMF. I mean, that's something that everybody
debatable
acknowledge. It's not something. I mean, by the time they were leaving office, the situation wasn't as bad as it was when they went to the IMF. So the conversation about turning a corner, and turning a corner is simply an indication that things were beginning to improve. It's not the idiom "turn a corner" doesn't necessarily mean that things have improved. Things were beginning to improve.
Yes. Here's the question, I guess, that should settle the matter, if you don't mind. So, by the time the MPP were leaving, things were not as bad as they were when they joined the IMF. Forgive me. But what about now? Are things better or worse now than they were when the MPP left?
But you see, they make an argument that there always has to be, and a similar thing is happening in US. The job numbers are going up, and the Democrats are also making an argument that it will be difficult for a new administration that took over to start reaping some of these benefits, and that they laid the foundation for these strong numbers that the US is seeing when it comes to the economy and all those things.
So are the numbers better now?
Tell me.
That's the simple
inflation is slowing. Growth is strong. In terms of our reserves, and could you, one thing that if you go through the IMF statement, it would be very interesting for you is that in terms of our international reserves, the Bank of Ghana, they were hoping for us to get a certain amount at the end of the program in 2026. As we speak right now, we've been able to accumulate more reserves than expected. And that has a confidence effect for people who are worried about the city. For a long time, Kojo, we've seen the Ghana cedi, at least, depending on where you stand, being stable against the US dollar.
So, George, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that things were improving and things are still improving.
Yeah.
So this fight is really silly.
Well, the politics, the political economy argument, but you will not take it away from the political parties.
It's pointless. It makes no sense. Things were improving. Things are still improving. What are they fighting over?
So somebody did set the foundation for
Jesus
the things
Christ.
to improve.